Hello everybody, this is Russ and I am with rwgresearch.com. Go check it out if you want, rwgresearch.com, and you'll know everything you need to know about me. So I thought I would just kind of document this adventure that I'll be having this next couple of days, and it might actually help some people, and I thought I'd post it up there. So what I'm probably going to be doing in the next couple of days is replacing the head gaskets on a 97 Ford Taurus. This has a 3.0 liter overhead valve engine, and I'll tell you a couple of the symptoms that I had to determine what I have, and we'll go from there. The first thing that I had, the cap blew off the radiator or the coolant system right here, and all the coolant came out. Tried to figure out what happened, and got to looking. Looks like the water pump on these engines like to rust out. I do have really nasty brown water and stuff, so that was probably the part of the problem. Replaced the water pump, and I also replaced the thermostat, and neither one of those fixed my problem. Second thing that happened was when I was driving it around, the cap actually came completely off. A lot of the fluid came out, and the engine started knocking because it got really hot. So basically what I'm thinking is that it's got a blown head gasket, and the air is being forced into the coolant side, pushing out and overpressurizing my my coolant side. So those are the things I did. Those are the symptoms that I had, and I'm going to go ahead and take the spark plugs out and see if I can see any water on any of the spark plugs first before I get too far, and I may do a few more troubleshooting things before I start tearing it apart. But I wanted to give you an overview of what I did and what it looks like right now, and this will be good documentation for myself. Get a good overview of where all the hoses are and the connectors and where everything's supposed to be at. I went ahead and took the hood off, sitting over there, and got that out of the way so I can actually work on this engine. And like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all the spark plugs out, see if I can see anything that's fouled or any water on my spark plug. I did run it just for a minute or two to get it in the garage here, but other than that, this engine's cold. It's barely warm to the touch on the exhaust, so it just ran for a minute or two. You can see how nasty this brown stuff is here. That's the coolant. That's new coolant. I just put that in, so I really need to chemically flush it out. But there you go. I did, like I said, replace the water pump, and that did not fix the problem. So I think I got a good enough overview for myself here, and we'll see what happens. So like I said, I'm just documenting this for fun, and it might actually help some other viewers, some of you out there maybe coming into this same problem. And I haven't found any information on it really, so thought I'd share that with you, and here we go. Today is July 21st 2012, and it's about 8:30 in the morning. I will be actually doing this whole entire thing, broadcasting it live, and you can find that out on my website. So I might tag that footage on the end of this demo video, and we'll see what happens. So, see you in a little bit. Alright guys, I got 4 of the 6 out, but before this one dries, I wanted to show you what it looked like. I wanted to show you that there is water and or liquid. You see it right there. I know it's not the best to see. You can see how wet it is. That's antifreeze. So looks like I found the problem, and it looks like it is going to be probably a head gasket, which is a good thing. That's this back plug right there. I'm gonna go ahead and take the other 2 out and to make sure they're not wet too. Maybe leaking between multiple cylinders. So there you go. Alright everybody, so I went ahead and just set these up here as they came out of the engine. You can see, this might not be the best lighting, but you can see they're all pretty dry. This one even's got a whole lot of junk on it. Build up carbon and stuff. But you can see that this one right here is wet. So I'm going to give that about a 99.9% chance that is my cylinder, and that is my problem. So I am going to go ahead and tear this engine apart. That was one of the things I wanted to do. Now the thing you can do, my buddy Scott was telling me that if you set this, if you found out which cylinder it was by the spark plug, or even if you didn't, if you took a plug plug that hole with a port on it where you could compress air into that cylinder. You set this at top dead center where both valves are closed. You could push air through there and you should be able to open this cap, and you should be able to see the coolant bubbling. Okay, if you can see it bubbling or the water flows over, you know you have the right problem. You know what the problem is. I'm going to go ahead and say that that's my problem because of the spark plug being as wet as it is. So, guess we'll tear this thing down. See how it goes. One thing I wanted to inform you of was I did write down the spark plug wiring diagram, okay, before I took anything apart. And this way, when I go to put it back together, I know I have it correct. So you might want to do that. Be a wise choice. Alright, so I just took the belt off, but I wanted to share something with you. These gears are plastic on this particular car. And as you can see from my last experience, I took a big chunk out of this one. And the water pump here actually has a real big chunk taken out of it because I did not realize this was plastic. So that pulley right down there is your idler, or not your idler, but your tensioner. And what I did, took a piece of metal like this, put it right on there, and just sprung it up like that, okay, and popped my belt off. So save a little time. I had a big issue with that the first time I did the water pump, so that's the easiest way I found to get that one off. So while I'm starting to tear this apart, I'm going ahead and draining the water, antifreeze coolant, and you can see how nasty it is. That's fresh coolant too. So we'll drain that while I'm taking some stuff apart, and that'll be ready to go. Won't leak all over the floor. Alright, so I went ahead and removed the alternator. Make sure when you pull these plugs off, you don't break the clips, and make sure you unclip them before you take them off. Now, earlier I did take the battery out. I don't recommend sitting on the concrete. Concrete and batteries don't mix. Set it on the shelf there, and alternator's here. I kind of got some of the bolts sitting back in the place where they originally went so I don't lose them. If you can put them back in the bolt spot, but for instance on this one you can't do it because there's a bolt under it. So just a little tip. Alright, so I basically just started disassembling, taking pictures along the way, pulling off parts, plugs, hoses, all these electrical plugs. I did take off the distributor here. Took off the hoses for the water, coolant. Really, that's about it. I am trying to nicely place everything on this table so that I will be able to put it back together. Things such as these bolts, as long as this table doesn't get knocked over, that way I know which bolts went where. Other than that, just continuing on and see where it takes us. Alright, so I got the top of this thing off. The intake, I guess that's the top half of the intake manifold off. And this is kind of what it looks like. You can smell the gas. But we got that off, and I left a lot of this assembly on here. I didn't take any of this stuff off, and left it on there. That'll be a little bit easier to put back together. So, continuing on. Alright, so I've taken some more of the wire harness out, and I went ahead and pulled the injectors out, and they're on flexible hosing on this side, so I went ahead and just left the injectors in the manifold side, in the gas manifold side, otherwise you'll have gas everywhere. And I'll just set this up here out of the way, and that way I ain't got to mess with those at all, so that'll be nice. Otherwise you'll have gas leaking everywhere and stuff. So that's what I did. It seemed to work pretty good. Moving on. Alright, so I got the wiring harness disconnected. This was connected to the firewall up there. And some of these plugs, including, let's see, this one, where's that? Well, I don't quite know where it went. Oh, there. Had this on it. Went down to the bottom. This one right here. Sorry about the bad footage. This long one went down to the bottom of the car. And there we go. Went all the way down to the bottom, way down there. Really hard to get to. And then the one that really gave me a fit goes down here to the power steering. Or it might be, yeah, it looks like the air conditioner or power steering. It has to be air conditioner. Went way down there in the bottom and was very hard to get out. Had a clip on it on the bottom side. So those two I fought with for a little bit. That was about the worst two that I found. Then I can just take this whole harness and get it out of my way. Continuing on. Alright. Alright, so I've pulled off the valve covers, and this particular part right here, there's the two valve covers, but the particular part right here where the I guess the bottom half, the intake manifold, and the actual head cover, or the can, whatever it's called, right here, there's a little bitty like gap, and it looks like they had put some silicone or the black, whatever it is, the sealant. I'll probably have to get some. Looks like there's a little bit of a difference here, and looks like they did have some sealant on there, so I'm gonna have to remember and put some back on there. Make sure I get that back on there. So just a note for those of you. And this looks pretty oily. I don't really see any coolant in that area, so I'll take it down even further, see what it looks like. Alright, so I've unbolted the exhaust, and I'm going to try something without unbolting the manifold to the pipe. It's loose enough that I think I can just pull it away to get this thing put together and taken apart. Now, that's great for the front, but for the back, I took all the bolts out, and this one right here didn't even have a head on it. It's broke flush. So the manifold's still loose. And if that's the case, if I can still get the head off and then I can take the bolt out afterwards, I'll be okay. Otherwise I'm going to have to take this whole thing off. But this here, I just turned it out of my way, and hopefully I can just tighten it back up and it's in the